Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we're talking about Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 11. This chapter felt very quick, and it felt more like a setup chapter, but it was still action-packed and enjoyable. The chapter cover this time around is pretty good, as we get to see Hidari in his full colors. I like the black and yellow theme he has going on. The lightning behind him is also a nice touch, and it also foreshadows what he'll end up doing later in this chapter. The chapter title is called True Power, and it ties into the themes of a few characters in this chapter. And in a way, it's quite literal, but also it could be used metaphorically as well. And I'll elaborate further as we get through this review. Alright, with that being said, let's get started. So we open up the chapter continuing from last month with Himawari freeing herself from Jura's tree. Jura infers that Himawari's sudden boost in power was attributed to her connection with the Nine Tails. Shikadai is astounded by Himawari's insane healing factor, which is a common perk amongst Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Himawari looks at Inojin and somehow can tell that he's still alive and proceeds to remove him from the branch that impaled him. Himawari then proceeds to do something unusual. She uses her chakra to heal Inojin's wounds. So as I predicted in the last review, Inojin would survive. What is very bizarre though is that Himawari was able to heal Inojin, and that's not one of Kurama's abilities. Mito, Uzumaki, Kushina, and even Naruto could not use this power by solely relying on Kurama. I suspect she is able to do this because she inherited Six Paths chakra from both of her parents, and on an unconscious level, she used a miniature or incomplete version of the creation of all things technique. So this is something I suspect Himawari is capable of doing on her own without Kurama at all. Naruto did something similar during the 4th grade Shinobi War, in which he restored Kakashi's eye after Madara stole Obito's Sharingan, and when he also healed Might Guy and saved him from the Gate of Death. This was because Hagoromo gave Naruto the Sun Pattern seal, which allowed him to use this technique temporarily until Kaguya was sealed away. And he also used this technique on Guy without Kurama's chakra mode activated, which also implies that this is a technique that's outside of Kurama's power. Himawari then proceeds to tell Shikadai and Chocho to take Inojin and leave, and that she'll fight Jura on her own. Shikadai clearly saw how outclassed they were and is ready to go, but Chocho doesn't care about that. She wants to stay and help Himawari fight Jura. Himawari assures her that she'll be alright, and that she's not comfortable with the situation and fighting Jura alone, but she knows this is what needs to be done, that this is something Boruto and even Naruto would do. So yeah, Himawari has definitely grown closer to Team 10, with Chocho promising her to go out to a pancake house the next time they meet. So Himawari has a favorite food just like Naruto and Boruto. Naruto of course likes ramen, Boruto likes Thunder Burgers, and now Himawari likes pancakes. I can relate to that. But anyways, Jura comments that Team 10, even though he thinks highly of them in terms of their intelligence and their coordination with their techniques, he cannot conceive why Inojin would risk his life knowing that he couldn't win. And this is Jura's biggest character flaw, which I pointed out in earlier reviews. It's his lack of experience and his interactions with others also lacking. Everything Jura perceives is based off of his learning information from books, but studying life is completely different from actually living it. Sometimes acting on raw emotion, especially when fighting for someone you care about, is the most human thing a person can do. Because that's what it means to be human. It surpasses logical thinking. Emotion and passion fuels these different sensations. Himawari doesn't care what Jura has to say and proceeds to attack him. The fear she had in chapter 10 is completely gone. She's ready for action. She ends up knocking him away, and the fact that she is only in the initial Nine Tails state and not using any of the other stronger Nine Tails transformations is crazy. Boruto never fought Jura, so it would be hard to compare him to Himawari, but the fact that she landed a hit on Jura when Kawaki could not is insane. When she masters the other tail beast forms, my goodness, like she's gonna be so broken. Like she's definitely gonna be beyond Ishiki at this point. Jura then proceeds to go in for an aerial assault, which Himawari quickly catches on to. Himawari then begins to lock on and form a Bijou Bomb using her hair as a manifestation of Kurama's tails in order to generate it. And this is a big deal. Naruto couldn't even use a full Bijou Bomb when he first attempted. Granted, he didn't have Kurama's full assistance at the time until he fought against Obito, but the fact still remains. He had a higher level of the Nine Tails Chakra mode than Himawari is currently using right now, and he struggled the first time when he attempted to use it. He even described the Bijou Bomb as being heavy. In fact, he even had to resort to using a miniature one, like even smaller than the one that Himawari used in this chapter. Jura then proceeds to throw his Bijou Bomb as a counter using his Rinnegan against Himawari. Jura is impressed by Himawari's development to not only have the power to oppose him, but also be able to easily control a Bijou Bomb. Jura likely suspects there is more to Himawari's true power, however. He also knows that Himawari solely relying on the Nine Tails power is not enough to stop him. Jura then proceeds to knock Himawari around for a bit and says something truly horrifying, that he is going to now use or release some of his true power against her. So this entire time, he has not been taking any of his fights seriously. I really don't know how the cast are really going to take this guy down, but I suspect Momoshiki may be the one who ends up finishing the job. We cut to the next scene as Sarada asks once again who is Hidari and how come he knows the Chidori. Hidari doesn't answer her questions and proceeds to use his claw marks to get the jump on her. Hidari re-examines his previous scuffle with Sarada and then determines that her eyes were the Sharingan, something that Jura had told him about. Then Hidari determines that the Chidori is a troublesome jutsu and quickly figures out that the Sharingan is the key to mastering it, something in which he doesn't have. His Rinnegan is not a running Sharingan like Sasuke once had. So without the Sharingan, he has a major weakness that the other Shinju don't have. Konohamaru asks him who is he and what's his connection to Sasuke. Hidari shockingly says he doesn't know who Sasuke is, which is kind of weird, as we saw that Matsuri, who is the female Shinju, seemed to have some memories and links to Moegi. So it's kind of weird or odd that Hidari doesn't know anything relating to Sasuke other than he has a strong desire to eat Sarada. Hidari says that he is on a quest to figure out who he is, and that's why he traveled to the Leaf Village in the first place. Sumire states the obvious that Hidari is after Sarada, but before anyone could fully react, Hidari slips his hand through a claw mark and proceeds to shock and paralyze Sarada with a variant of the Chidori stream. One of the Leaf Shinobi attempted to use Earth Style to save Sarada, which is kind of weird considering that Earth Style is the nature weakest to lightning, but hey, at least he tried. Hidari then proceeds to use a fireball jutsu on the Shinobi, in which the man gets burnt alive, and it's pretty horrifying. I'm pretty sure he died as well. It's crazy how Konohamaru went through a similar thing in part 1 with Kashin Koji, but unlike then, this shinobi unfortunately did not have a karma user to bail him out. Konohamaru then attempts to land a Rasengan behind Hidari, only for Hidari to use a claw mark to teleport behind Konohamaru and counter with a Chidori. Unlike in the anime where Sumire had a battle partner in the form of the creature known as Nue, she is virtually useless in the manga. Nue would have at least held Hidari back for a little bit and bought time for both Konohamaru and Sarada to recover, but unfortunately that is not the case. Sumire does nothing and proceeds to get electrocuted by Hidari. The other shinobi on the battlefield is Nishi, the guy from Boruto Part 1 that got tricked by Kawaki, a genin in the anime, if you consider the anime continuity, in which he used a shadow clone in order to escape the Uzumaki residence and find Code. This guy should definitely choose a different career path, but his reaction is a very human one. He is following the flight or fight response, and he's choosing to maintain his distance because he knows he cannot win against Hidari. So we cut back to the previous scene, and it's not looking good for Himawari. She just can't keep up with Jura at this point, because he is actually putting in some effort now. Despite the intense amount of damage she's taking, Kurama's healing factor keeps saving her from lethal blow after lethal blow. Kurama realizes that Jura is more of a monster than he initially thought. Even with the partnership Himawari and Kurama formed, it is unfortunately not enough given the current circumstances. Kurama is still in his smaller form, and Himawari is using her true power and a small portion of Kurama's power for the first time. It's only natural they both improve from here. When she unlocks Kurama mode, like the true one that Naruto was using, and masters her own power as well, she may even rival some of the Shinju at that point. So we cut to another scene as Kawaki and Delta are still flying to Himawari and Jura's location. Delta makes a valid point. Jura defeated Kawaki without breaking a sweat. Why bother going over there now if the result is going to be the same? Kawaki then says that because there's no scenario in which he cannot go and try to save her. One, in his mind, that will blow his cover in the village for sure. And two, he owes Himawari everything, and I'm pretty sure he knows that. He took her parents away from her. He took her parents' ability to protect her away from them. And he's actively trying to kill her biological brother. He's been so cold to her for the better half of 3 years. But just like Inojin's bond with Himawari, that's what pushes Kawaki forward as well. Himawari was one of the first people who didn't view Kawaki as a monster. They grew a genuine bond. She is precious to him, and the only reason why he has been cold to her in the first place is because omnipotence took their actual bond away. True power is the title of this chapter, and while it's quite literal when it comes to people like Jura and Himawari, what it truly means, and this is a concept that Jura doesn't understand, is that true power is the bonds we share with other people that we're especially close with, the bonds that push us into bravery within ourselves, or unleash a strength we didn't know we had, but something about that person or select group of people is what makes us want to be there for them. That's what true power is. But before Kawaki can get the chance to respond to Delta, Boruto flashes past both of them at top speed. He has no time to waste with Kawaki. He needs to save his friends and sister right away. I'm glad he's back in action and that the Karma Seal did not consume him. Just when all hope appeared to be lost, Boruto comes in like the Shadow Hokage he is to save the day. And so we get to a point where we see the true power theme come into play once again, as it resides in Boruto. He is only as strong as he is currently because he wants to save his friends and family from the world's destruction. He wants to save his parents from their prison. He wants to save Sasuke, who sacrificed himself to give the world a fighting chance. And just as important to him, he wants to save Kawaki from his cycle of despair because of the Otsutsuki. Jura is caught a little bit off guard as Boruto dashes through him to grab his sister and get as far away as he can from Jura as possible. The fact that this is Boruto's top speed and this is without him using his lightning release to augment his speed even further is crazy to think about. I'm sure Sasuke taught him this method during their first year in exile. Even if Jura is stronger than Boruto, he'll likely have a hard time catching Boruto, that's for sure. With Sarada still being paralyzed, there appears to be nothing she can do against Hidari right now. Again, this will be the perfect opportunity for her to use her Mangekyo Sharingan to form a Susanoo shield, use Amaterasu, or cast a powerful Genjutsu on Hidari. But unfortunately, none of these things occur because I suspect she is similar to Kakashi, and for most of her shinobi career, just like Kakashi, she simply just doesn't know she has it. Hidari branches out a tree and gets ready to perform the Devour technique on her. He truly feels that once he eats her, he'll gain the knowledge he needs to understand who he is. But in reality, he is only fooling himself. This will not give him fulfillment. What good is knowledge without purpose? Both are necessities to feeling whole as a person. Sarada catches a glimpse of Kashin Koji's steam toad, and Boruto instantly teleports to her location. Boruto, with his sister in one hand and his sword in the other, cuts off Hidari's attachment to Sarada, and it's a pretty cool panel. He killed two birds with one stone. He got Himawari away from Jura and saved Sarada. And Jura points out how crafty he is because of that. In my opinion, Boruto should teleport Himawari and Sarada to the hideout in which Kashin Koji and himself are staying in. This will temporarily solve a few problems. 1. He can get them away from Jura and Hidari. 2. As a result of getting them away, the Shinju will be delayed in their primary goals, and therefore they are not willing to eat Kawaki until they find out their true purpose. 3. The Shinju also have little to no interest in the Leaf Village, and will likely leave the village in order to pursue Himawari and Sarada, meaning thousands of lives will be saved. And as a direct result of this, Boruto and Himawari will also be able to interact without Kawaki's influence. But I guess we'll see what happens next month.